And Gary and Tim, you guys ready? Okay. So we'll call the Board of Commissioners to order at 10:01. All those who are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, do we have any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda? All right. Seeing none, any additions to the agenda? No? All right, moving on to the meeting minutes,
Okay.
if they're all right.
Move to approve the minutes from the meeting held January 21st.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the meeting held on January 21st, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Moving on to proclamations, we have proclamation number 4, proclaiming January 29th as Lunar New Year in Center County. And we have several people here for this. I'm assuming, is it Nalini and Vicky who will be taking the lead? All right, well, come on up to the podium and explain the holiday to us and tell us the contributions and, yeah, that's good. No, that's good. Why don't you sit there, come think of it. We got the space and it's better angles for the cameras.
There we go. All right.
So which year is it this year? Which animal?
Oh, Year of the Snake.
Year of the snake.
Wise,
All right.
intuitive, or it could go the other way too. But that's
Yes.
that's the good fortune.
The good
You always
fortune.
work for good
All right.
fortune. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's the Year of the Snake, and just for CNET, my name's Nalini Krishnankuti. I'm a resident of State College Borough. Also happen to be elected Borough Council member, but today I'm here as one of the founding members of the Panapita Circle, along with Vicky. And I know in past years, you've done this proclamation, and we're really, really thankful. This is the one government agency that actually proactively reaches out to us every year. It reminds us very early, that this proclamation is coming, and, so I thank you for that. And as
Kudos
Vicky.
to Aaron and Lisa on that.
Yes, thank you. Truly, I mean, you get us thinking about this and thinking about what we want to, to highlight. So Vicky in past years has very eloquently expressed how Lunar New Year is a celebration of family, it's a celebration of community, it's a celebration where, we kind of recognize the village that is part of, we are all part of. And the other thing that we do during Lunar New Year is really honor our ancestors. And so today, I just have a few comments regarding that. In keeping with that tradition, I want to honor all the ancestors of our local Apida community whom we lost over this past year. And I also want to elevate a couple of those individuals whom we lost in December. And in this case, they were 2 individuals, members of our community that I knew personally. The first, Dr. Matilal Sarkar of Port Matilda, beloved husband, father, grandfather, who came from Bangladesh to Vanderbilt to do his PhD in chemistry, and later moved to Center County to work at Supelco, right down here in Bellefonte. We lost not only an esteemed scientist doing cutting-edge research and development, but we lost a beloved resident who coached soccer, organized large-scale community events, supported his neighbors, extended families and family and friends, and really loved to fish and hike in the streams and mountains of Center County. The second ancestor we lost recently in December is Penn State Emeritus Professor Jayachandra of Ferguson Township, again a beloved husband, father, grandfather, who came to State College from India as an industrial engineering graduate student and later became a respected Penn State faculty member. Dr. Chandra was not only an award-winning teacher, a researcher, a generous mentor, he was also a church elder who bled blue and white and never missed a single football game at Beaver Stadium. He was loved by many. More than 500 people came to his viewing and funeral, and more than 1,800 people watched the funeral live stream from more than a dozen countries and 24 states. Now, these 2 ancestors and their oversized impact exemplify the story of many Center County residents, first-generation immigrants who come here on legal, temporary F1 student visas. We are so lucky that they chose to make Center County their home, that they became Americans, that they raised their families here and impacted us, and they shaped future generations of Center Countyans, both through their professional and personal contributions. So your proclamation today celebrates all these diverse realities, these experiences and celebrations of our Center County family, which includes first-generation immigrants, naturalized and native-born citizens, as well as their descendants. It honors individuals like Dr. Sarkar, Professor Chandra, gives us an opportunity to learn more from and be inspired by their remarkable exemplary lives. So again, I want to thank you, heartfelt thanks for this Lunar New Year proclamation. It's so meaningful at this time of great uncertainty when so many individuals are feeling marginalized and vulnerable. I want to thank you because it shows every Center County resident that they matter and that all our rich and diverse traditions are part of our American story. So with that, thanks to everyone who's celebrating this, and I'll pass it on to Vicki.
Right. Thank you. Elegant words, Nalini. Just a reminder, I'm not going to read the whole proclamation, but again, there's over 10,000 Asian Pacific Islanders, Desi American residents and families in Center County, and there have been for decades. I myself came here in 1977, and I'm amazed sometimes when I ask people who you know, they often cannot give you a name of longtime residents, contributors to our community, our culture, our economy. So again, being our village, we thank you because these kind of proclamations, I think, allow our voices to be heard and our faces to be seen. I just want to give an example since Lunar New Year is celebrated by many East Asian and South Asian, though not all Asian countries. But of our local residents, for Chinese American, Dr. Yi Kao, or Dr. Kao, as he was always called, a longtime and beloved ear, nose, throat surgeon in State College.
Yes.
Filipino-American Victor Romero, interim dean of Penn State Law and School of International Studies for over 20 years, and his teaching and research impact of immigration laws on marginalized groups. Korean-American Dr. Jung-woo Ryu, who is a scientist in cybersecurity and chancellor of Penn State Du Bois campus, but he is, I think, still a Port Matilda.
Yeah, wonderful
a
wife.
Port
I
resident.
think both of his sons are Eagle Scouts. Yeah.
Yes, very active in the Scouts. And then, of course, Desi American Penn State President Neely Pendabuti. So again, just to tell people that of all our contributing residents, and we invite all Center County residents. We have community events coming up this spring, February 2nd, Lunar New Year activities at SCLO Library with Chinese and Korean crafts for young children. We thank the Bellefonte Art Museum for presenting an exhibition of contemporary Korean art starting February 28th. And then on April 12th, the third APITA Festival will be coming back to downtown State College, and we'll have music and cultural activities by the Penn State APITA Student Caucus, our community group, State College Borough, and the Paul Robeson Cultural Center. So we are so lucky that Center County is a rich resources and a community of connections, and our village where we receive so much support and appreciation, and we thank the Center County Commissioners.
Well, thank you so much, Vicki. I'll pass it on to Commissioner Concepcion, and then I'll make some comments.
Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to recognize Lunar New Year, and that you all are also, through the Pan-APITA Caucus or Forum, that you're working on these kind of educational activities for young people in our community to learn about what Lunar New Year means and to understand more about the diverse cultures that make up Center County. Thanks also for recognizing those individuals who were lost in the past year. It really highlights the tremendous contributions of the APITA community in Center County and across our country. We're lucky to live someplace that has so much diversity in terms of folks who come here from all over the world, both for opportunities at Penn State and a company like Sapelco that draws scientists globally. And these kind of opportunities here, when we think about economic development in Center County, one of a great byproduct of economic development is that people want to be here, and we're really glad to have those contributions here in our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very well said, Commissioner Concepcion. And it was interesting, I knew about half of the names you mentioned, Vicki, and I've been operated on by Dr. Ko. Just the three of you who came today, very involved in the community. Nalini, we have an idea of just how much work it is to be a local elected official. In our case, we're at least paid a decent amount of money to do it. In your case, it's free, you volunteer.
Yes.
So we appreciate that, and obviously your husband is on several advisory boards, including one for the county, which we appreciate, Sundar. Thank you very much. And Vicki, of course, serving on the Board of Elections a couple of times now, and helping out in your early retirement with the Elections Board. It seems like you were everywhere helping out over the last couple of elections. I very much appreciate that. And we don't want to forget about Judge Don Hahn, also former mayor of State College, and his brother, both significant individuals in the community. So appreciate everything that the over 10,000 Asian Pacific Islander Desi Americans do here in Center County. As Vicki mentioned, there have been thousands of people from that part of the world here for decades. And, if we're going to be have a world-class university in our boundaries, then we need to have people here from all over the world. And we very much appreciate your contributions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions from the press? No? All right. Unless there's anything else, then I think we could take a
Great,
motion.
then I'm happy to move to adopt Proclamation 4 of 2025 proclaiming January 29th, 2025 as Lunar New Year in Center County.
And I will second the motion. All those in favor of adopting Proclamation number 4, proclaiming January 29th as Lunar New Year in Center County, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. If you could come on up and present the proclamation. Move for JJ and Sundar here. Center in on Bellefonte. All right. Actually, I'll hop to this side. So we balance it.
Right.
There we go. How do we look? Good?
Smile, reach for the Lord.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great to see you again, Vicki. Great to see you.
Thank you, happy New Year. Yep.
Thanks, JJ. All right, always fun to have the proclamations for the active local community groups. Obviously, this is one of the bigger ones. Now we will move on to resolutions. Resolution number 2, authorizing the submission of an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development under the Federal Community Development Block Grant Competitive Program. And we've got Leslie covering that for us.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, so I'm here just seeking Commissioner support, approval to adopt Resolution 2 of 2025. Again, this is the third round of this competitive CDBG grant. This is for fiscal year 2024 for the Eagle Creek project. We held our public hearing last Wednesday. We actually had a number of people show up in support of that project, so that was nice to see the community members, the residents come out. There were a few questions. Everybody seemed very familiar with the project scope. Just had to review a little bit of the process and, kind of what happens if we were to be funded this round. So it was a nice discussion. Submission deadline is coming up just around the corner, February 7th. So the application is coming together. I am putting polishing touches on it as we finish out this week, seeking legislative letters of support from Senator Dush and Representative Tekek, and those should be coming in in the next couple of days.
Don't forget the congressman.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. So I think I feel very confident that third time is a charm for this one. I keep saying that, and I really feel it in my heart. I know that you have prioritized this project by allocating 100% of your regular 2024 CDBG entitlement to this project. We've also strengthened the narrative, I believe, by focusing on the affordable housing issue, which is really a national hot button issue right now, and I think that will serve us well with this grant application. So, any questions?
Do you think, just for the benefit of the press, could you kind of summarize what the project is?
Oh, certainly, certainly. Actually, I'm just going to grab some notes.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I also am accurate on that.
Yeah, this has been definitely a priority for us to see this project move through, because that's affordable housing that we want to keep online here in Center
That's right,
County.
that's right. So the Eagle Creek community was developed originally as an affordable living manufactured homes park in response to a need for working families in the Bald Eagle region of Center County. When developed, the community constructed its own on-site community drinking water system and wastewater treatment plant, and at that time, both utilities were approved and permitted by DEP. In 2018, when Eagle Creek wastewater treatment operating permit came up for renewal, DEP informed them at that time that the permit would not be renewed and that the Eagle Creek must now implement a plan to convey its sewer to the nearby municipal system, which is Mid-Center Authority. DEP issued a consent order for the work to be completed as quickly as possible, and so that was 2018. You know, we're already 7 years past that date. The proposed sewer project consists of construction and installation of a 2-inch force main from the existing grinder pump and terminating at a Mid-Center Authority manhole in Unionville Borough, so the adjacent borough. The force main will be installed on the south side of the CEDACOG rail line on land owned by the Eagle Creek community, which is approximately 1,400 feet. It will then be bored under the rail line and continue to Unionville on the north side of the tracks through private land for which the HOA has pre-existing rights of way. And then once the conveyance line is installed, the current existing Eagle Creek wastewater treatment plant will be abandoned and the site reclaimed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes?
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Any additional comments?
No, thanks. No, I think this is an important priority for us, and I'm glad you're here to share about it and that we're here to support it. So,
We appreciate your support.
Yeah, the commissioners have put in a substantial amount of extra time on this. I believe it's roughly 30 homes,
33.
33 homes in the development.
Right.
And as you mentioned, those are affordable homes in an area that's relatively close to Bellefonte and State College.
Very close.
So great place to live. But their current system just no longer meets modern requirements.
Correct.
And they're fortunate enough to be in the ballpark of less than a mile away from the closest main. Otherwise, this project would cost even more.
That's right.
But to have 33 families pay for the entire cost of this
Oh.
project is simply not feasible.
Not feasible, right.
So I'd like to thank Center County Planning. I see we have the department head, Ray Stalinas from the department, been a lot of extra work from planning. Would also like to thank, as you mentioned, Mid-Center Authority for their cooperation on this. Otherwise, I don't think this would even be possible.
I don't know.
The local municipalities for their assistance, and the CEDACOG rail line for allowing us to drill underneath an active rail bed. Because I
Right.
believe that particular stretch has at least a dozen trains on an average weekday. So tremendous project, super important for those 33 families. Without it, we're losing 33 affordable homes, and those families will obviously be financially devastated. So we do appeal to our state legislators, who are definitely being very helpful, and the Department of Community and Economic Development to help fund this. And I have made calls to
Thank you.
department heads
Thank
within that
you.
organization for this, which time's limited. I don't normally do that. Yeah.
Whatever we can do.
Any questions from the press on this one? No?
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll move to adopt Resolution 2 of 2025.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2 of 2025, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you, and thanks for all your help, Leslie.
Thank you, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
And I think I have the next
The next one,
agenda
too.
item.
You got the
so-
next one, too.
Just
Yes,
stay
you
here.
All right, so under contracts and authorizations, we have approval to update the Community Development Block Grant Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan.
That's right. Just seeking Commissioners' approval of this assistance plan. Under Section 104D of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended, the county is required to pass and have included in its master plans file a residential anti-displacement and relocation policy. This policy describes steps that will be taken to minimize displacement of persons from their home as a result of any CDBG assisted activity, and must include a plan for replacement of units and relocation assistance if displaced. Understand that it's always the intent of Center County to undertake CDBG activities which do not result in the displacement of residents. However, CDBG regulations do require the county to adopt a residential anti-displacement relocation assistance plan. So again, this is required for the county's master files under CDBG. Typically, the master files are updated about every 5 years, or if there's a change on the board, which both things have happened. I think we're quite overdue for an update. So that's, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but it's pretty straightforward as far as the plan.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Any questions, Commissioner
Not
Concepcion?
at this time. Thanks.
All right, well, for the folks at home, I will mention that the Community Development Block Grant Program is a federally funded program. We've received a lot of assistance from our 2 state senators and our congressman in having these projects come to Center County. Here in Center County, since communities of Bellefonte and State College, and I think a few of the others in the center region, receive funds directly from the federal government. Most of the county's funds for this go to the rural parts of the county, traditionally for water and sewer projects, although the county, I think, has now done a couple of projects at the old Gregg School to keep that facility functional, so that, say, one of the walls doesn't fall down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, true.
Great. Thanks. Any questions from the press on this one? No?
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll move to approve the updated CDBG Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of approving the updated Community Development Block Grant Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Leslie.
Great,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your time.
Thanks. All right, and I see Jonathan's all ready to go to talk about a capital project.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm asking for your consideration and approval of a contract with the Public Safety Training Center for repairs to the burn building from Howe Masonry. This contract is in the amount of $10,695. It is repairing window lintels, some mortar joints that have failed, as well as some high-temp burn panels. That building receives extreme temperatures due to the practices that occur in that building, so these repairs are necessary.
Great, thanks. And Commissioner Concepcion, I know you're a representative.
Yeah, and this is a crucial facility for first responders from all over the county and beyond Center County, and, you know, probably, I think we looked at like 18 different
Yes.
counties use this facility on a regular basis for training. But certainly locally, we've had, you know, all of the local fire departments, I think, participate in, where they do controlled burns in this building so that everyone who are part of their firefighting forces have experience going into an actual fire and training, you know, scenario training in that way. So maintaining this building with those, the special kind of bricks that are required to, you know, keep it in good shape so that we're able to run those training exercises is just, part of the maintenance on that entire facility there, so.
Yeah, Commissioner Concepcion is correct. I've actually helped fight a fire in that building for training. And the adrenaline rush is amazing, but the confusion and the smoke and the steam, just when you take those hay bales and you soak them in gasoline and you set them on fire, it's just a surreal situation. And it's critically important for the safety of our first responders, especially firefighters, but also other groups. What is a fire like? Obviously, in that particular building, it's safe. It's solid. It's not going to fall down. The actual building itself,
Won't
as you
collapse.
both mentioned, it's not going to collapse. It's masonry, fire brick, etc. But over time, it's really hard on the building to be heated up to a couple thousand degrees and then doused with water a couple of times every weekend for years.
Yes.
So appreciate your work on this, Jonathan, and working with the Howell Masonry for the contract to keep this building hopefully in good shape for years to come.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right.
Unless there's anything else, we'll take a motion.
I'll move to add the contract with the Public Safety Training Center to next week's consent agenda.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adding the contract with the Public Safety Training Center to next week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Great, thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Melanie from Elections has a pretty big contract here for maintenance and software upgrades.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm asking for your approval for the renewal of a contract with Election Systems and Software to provide firmware license and extended warranties with biannual maintenance for our election equipment, which includes 2 DS450s, 120 DS200s, and 100 Express Vote machines in the amount of $127,815.34 for the period of March 1st, 2025 to February 28th, 2026. This is just a standard renewal contract. I think the original was signed in February of 2019.
Yes. Obviously, it takes a fair bit to keep all that equipment up to date.
Yes.
Because it doesn't connect to the internet.
It does not.
So updating the software is a real pain in the butt.
Luckily, we have ESNS do that for us.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner Concepcion, comments and questions?
Yeah, their staff has been really helpful in the past.
Yes, they have.
Certainly in this past election cycle, with being on site here with us to do a lot of the work on these machines. So, yeah, it's a good idea to move forward with this.
And I think it actually totals to exactly 222 different pieces of equipment. If we add it all together, that is a lot of different pieces of equipment.
Yes,
to have
and we've
to-
had extra equipment added throughout the years too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Then I'll move to approve the contract with ES&S LLC.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adding the contract with Election Systems and Software LLC, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Moving on to Human Services, Julia has a whole bunch of contracts for us.
Good morning.
Morning.
So my first is Children and Youth Services. So I'm asking you to consider approval of the contract with Bethesda Children's Home Lutheran Social Services, otherwise known as Bethesda Lutheran Services, to provide foster care for dependent and delinquent youth. Contract total is for $30,000. State's share being $24,000, county share being $6,000, from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. Also asking for a contract addendum with Language Line to add telephone and on-site interpreting services and translation services to current master service agreement with statement of work. This is so that CYS can utilize Language Line for sign language. So they needed an additional addendum for that. It's $2,500, with the state share being $2,000 and the county share being $500. And then finally, it's a contract renewal with Delaware County Emergency Youth Academy to provide foster care residential services for dependent and delinquent youth. This contract total is $85,000, with the county share being $17,000 for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. This is a shelter that has been incredibly helpful to us when we've had situations where we've had difficult to place children and needed a safe place for them, and they've been very accommodating and have enjoyed working with us. Unfortunately, they're in Delaware County, so it's a bit of a drive, but we've been very pleased with their services.
Yeah, so we appreciate that, Julia. And while the number of youth in Center County's care is actually pretty stable, the complexity involved with some of those youth is definitely increasing.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Concepcion, any comments or questions?
No, only where is Bethesda Children's, is that a renewal or a new provider?
It's a new contract
Okay.
for a specific youth that we were able to
okay.
place in that facility. In previous years, we've utilized them and then hadn't for a while, and then now need a new contract to utilize them again.
All right, thank you. So
So
then
we
I'll
can take a motion.
make a motion to add the CYS items 1 through 3 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adding the 3 items for Children and Youth Services to next week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries, and now it looks like you have 3 additional contracts for the Super Department of Mental Health, Intellectual Disability, Early Intervention, Drug and Alcohol.
Yep, covering for lots of people today. So the first is a contract renewal with Oasis Life Care to provide mental health services. This is just a standard renewal with this service. Contract total is $200,684, with the county's match being $9,252. The next is the approval of a contract with Eagle Valley Personal Care Home. This contract is a separate contract from one that we currently hold because this is for a specific individual. So this is for a specific individual with intellectual disabilities, for Eagle Valley Personal Care Home to care for this individual. The county share being $899. And then finally, I have a approval of a letter of agreement with Western PA School for the Deaf to provide special instruction, hearing services. This is for our early intervention program, and this is also for one specific child so that they're able to provide services to them. And the county share for that is $461.
Great. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
No, these are important services, so.
Yeah, we would very much like to thank Eagle Valley, our personal care home, for assisting us with those persons with intellectual disabilities. They run a very tight ship and have a couple of facilities here in the county. I was just passing by their main facility there in Milesburg and remembering just how quickly they reacted during the flooding in 2016.
Yeah.
Where the last couple of people were evacuated in chest-high water. But our transportation department was already there with buses on the scene, so it all worked out working as a team. And then I have been at the headquarters of the Western PA School for the Deaf over in Johnstown. Nice facility, very dedicated individuals there.
Yeah, I think this really shows how our human service agencies really try to provide individualized services to people in the community and work really hard to do so.
Yes, thanks, Judy.
Then I'll move to add the MHID, EI, DNA items 1 through 3 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adding the MHIDEI drug and alcohol items to 3 items to next week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks,
Thank
Julia.
you.
Thanks.
We have about a medium-sized consent agenda today.
Yeah, I'll move to approve this week's consent agenda.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of approving this week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. And then, John, I believe you have a letter of support for a rural water authority.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Before you for consideration is a letter of support for Haynes-Arensburg Municipal Authority. They are applying for a Susquehanna River Basin Commission Consumptive Use Mitigation Program grant application. That's a lot. As explained in the application that they have submitted, the funding would be used for automated water meter and infrastructure project improvements. They would replace outdated analog meters with new advanced metering, as well as replace inoperable valves. The grant application is for $100,000 to be placed towards the total project cost of $120,000.
Great, well, thanks for explaining that. John, any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
Sounds okay.
No? All right, well, I think the commissioners are happy to support a project that will upgrade water meters. I don't know exactly which valves are inoperable, but I don't think you want that when you're a water authority.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad then to move that we approve the letter of support for the Haynes-Arensburg Municipal Authority grant application.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of approving the letter of support for the Haynes-Arensburg Municipal Authority grant application, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. Now we'll move on to our check run dated January 24th.
Yeah, so the check that I'd like to highlight in today's check run is to Center Lifelink. I think that's just a payment for services. I would urge that anyone who may not have already renewed their membership or acquired their membership in Center Lifelink, if you live in the Center region or in the service area for Center Lifelink, go ahead and go to their website and do that. Those memberships are really important for the fiscal health of Center Lifelink and keeping that service healthy and available to us. And it also means if you have a membership, then that's basically like insurance in case you or anyone in your family needs ambulance service.
Thanks for the reminder, Amber. I just did that
Did
last
you
week.
do that? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we just did that as well. So with that, I would move that we approve the check run dated January 24th.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of approving the check run dated January 24th, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose nay. Motion carries. And John has his administrator's report, I believe.
Yes, as you know, the Board of Commissioners passed Resolution 2 of 2024, which allows the county administrator to execute any financial documents such as purchase orders, invoices, reimbursement requests, et cetera, up to but not to exceed $30,000, and only in those circumstances where funding for such has been approved and allocated in the county's annual budget process. Furthermore, in the event of an emergency, the administrator has the discretion to authorize expenditures up to $100,000 for emergency situations where we don't want to wait for public approval. The authorization through the resolution also allows the administrator to execute any and all documents related to grants after an initial resolution authorization by the board to apply for such grants takes place. Again, this is for the final quarter of 2024. Overall, there were 43 such authorizations performed with individual monetary values ranging from no cost up to $29,954. Of the 43 authorizations, 6 were software tech-related services or renewals valued at $78,399.68. 23 items involved human services agreements that have total costs of $249,500. 1 item was approved for legal consultation services costing $10,000. 1 for training services for $2,500. 1 item was approved for liability insurance costing $4,964.41. And finally, there were 11 no-cost agreements that were approved. Grand total of all expenditures authorized by the administrator in quarter 4 of 2024 was $345,364.09.
Thank you.
Very exact, John.
Yes.
And 9 cents.
Yep.
All right. Great, thank you for that report. Any questions on the report from the press? No? All right, moving on to the voter registration report. Looks like we have one.
We do. We have 101,843 voters on our report today. Of those, 41,362 are registered Democratic, 161 Green Party, 562 Libertarian, 15,524 with no affiliation, 42,190 Republican, and all others of the small minor parties comprise 2,044 registered voters, and this is up 44 from last week. Our precinct of the week that we'll recognize is Precinct 84, Walker Township West. They have 2,272 registered voters and had a voter turnout of just over 87% in the last election in November. They vote at the municipal building at 816 Nittany Valley Drive in Bellefonte, just west of Mingoville. And we'd like to thank the municipal offices there for allowing us to use their space for elections. And that is our voter report.
Thanks, Amber. I think that might be the largest single precinct by population outside of the state college area.
It's pretty significant with 2,272.
And that's a heck of a turnout.
It is, sure is. Yep.
Great. All right. Moving on, John, do we have any executive sessions to report or to hold?
None to hold, however, there are 2 to report. The board met on January 23rd from 11:33 a.m. to 11:56 a.m. to discuss a personnel matter, and then again at 12:04 p.m. to 12:45 p.m. to discuss a real estate matter.
Great.
Great. Thanks, John. The remainder of our public meeting schedule, we have a Finance Committee meeting on Thursday, January 30th at 9 a.m. And then next Tuesday, we have a Board of Commissioners meeting at 10. And now Gary and Tim's favorite part, questions from the press.
Yeah, going back to Eagle Creek, do you
Yes.
have any idea of like the time window, maybe when we'll see a decision on that grant?
Yeah, Leslie, why don't you address that exactly, because we've gone through this a couple rounds.
go up to
So
the
why don't you
Use the microphone.
Use the microphone so he can pick you up on his camera.
Okay. So application submission deadline is a week from this Friday, February 7th. We typically hear by April. That's ideal, is to have an award letter by April. Last year, things were a little behind. It was a very competitive year with 15 applicants. Normally, I think it's closer to 7 or 8 applicants for that pool of CDBG money. So I don't know. It depends on how many applicants and how long the review process takes for that. But typically, or ideally, we would see some news by April.
This year, you're a lot more confident. Third time's a charm, right?
I feel confident, and we do have. I feel like very strong support, like I mentioned, from the county, but also our legislators in that district. And again, taking the affordable housing angle, I feel like that strengthens the narrative and the need for that project in that area.
This might be a question for commissioners,
Yeah.
but in the event that the grant doesn't go through, is there any kind of backup plan for you to?
Well, we'll keep working at it. It's a very significant amount of money. I believe the residents are already kicking in quite a bit.
Yes.
Perhaps there might be some other state or federal grants that might open up. Always keep talking to the state legislators. With the divided control in Harrisburg, we have both 2 state senators from the majority party and 2 state representatives from the majority party. So hopefully we can keep working those angles. They're fortunate that they're relatively close to an active water and sewer authority, but it still costs a lot of money to run that much pipe that far of a distance. Good questions, Tim.
Thank you.
Gary?
John, do you know if the county's received any notice from any federal agency notifying the county of a possible review of federal funds or a possible temporary freeze on federal funding for the county?
We're aware of it, but I have not been personally contacted relative to any type of freeze.
Any idea what percentage county budget is federal?
It's pretty small, actually. We have the community development block grant on a regular basis. Congressman Thompson helped us save that during the first Trump administration. We've had pretty good luck recently with Appalachian Regional Commission grants, including one that I think is still active up in the Phillipsburg area for the Moshannon Valley Ambulance Service. Like to thank again Congressman Thompson, both of our U.S. senators, for those recent awards, and CEDACOG's assistance for filling them out and putting them through. A bigger concern might be some fraction of the state grants we receive were originally federal money. That's a little hard for us to tease out at this point, but thankfully here in Center County, over the last 9 years, we've managed the county finances pretty well. We've had some small deficits, a lot of near break-evens, and a few small surpluses. So unlike a lot of the other counties Commonwealth-wide that have currently borrowed millions to tens of millions of dollars each to make payroll, the Center County government is currently operating off of our rainy day fund, and we would expect that we can make it through to spring taxes coming in without needing to borrow money to make payroll.
Are there any county programs that is direct federal funding, or is the federal funding through, like you said, a variety of?
Generally, it's from a variety of state programs. I'm not aware of any single department that receives the overwhelming majority of its money from the federal government. I know, domestic relations does receive some funding, but that goes through the Social Security Administration, and I think that's one of the few places where funds have not yet been frozen.
It'd be indirectly federal to the state. And then
Yes, right. So great questions, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, thankfully here in Center County, financially, we are prepared for something of this type, at least on a temporary basis, and will continue to provide services to the 18,000 Center County citizens that we assist, and the 24,000 Center County citizens who are receive services from the nearly 100 human services agencies that we contract with. some of which you heard us writing up contracts today.
All right.
Is that what you were looking for, Gary?
Sure.
Thanks. All right, unless there's anything else, I think we could take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second the motion. All those in favor of adjourning at 10:46, do so by saying
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, everybody.